Diary entry number 36. Back to my happy place. Welcome back to the Nervous System Diaries. After spending a few days in the hotel, trying to wrap my head around everything that had happened at the shelter, I knew one thing for certain. I wanted to go home. I knew I would have a better support system there because I actually knew people. And there was something else I know I needed to do. I needed to make amends with my ex-husband. Maybe, someday, we could have a friendship. If he was willing to hear me out, if he was willing to accept my apologies for things I had done, even the things that I had manipulated into doing. I was so nervous to message him. I had been looking at his profile for quite some time, even when I was back in the original state that I was in before the shelter. I was trying to build up enough courage to actually send that message. I was scared of his reaction. I hadn't talked to him in over a decade. The past hurts, and I know that firsthand. Something that can happen years ago still hurt just as badly as when you finally allow yourself to feel it. The worst thing that he could do was not answer me or block me. Was I ready for that rejection? I wasn't sure. I had actually been trying to wait until I wasn't in such a desperate situation before reaching out. But at this point, it felt almost like the universe was saying, "Hey, we know where you belong. Contact him." So I opened our chat and I started typing. I told him I was sorry if I had ever hurt him. I told him that I hoped one day he could forgive me. Then I told him I was in a domestic violence shelter. I explained what had happened with Pup, and I told him about my health problems. And then he answered. His response was, "Well, shit, that's crazy." And that meant something to me. He wasn't saying what happened to me was crazy. He was reacting to the fact that after more than a decade, I had finally reached out to him. We talked for a while. I sent him pictures of Pup, and eventually I asked him if he would call me. I knew this was probably just as emotional for him as it was for me, and I wanted to be as gentle as I could, because he had never hurt me. And somewhere during those messages, I started giggling. I hadn't done that in so long. For so long, almost every emotion I had experienced was connected to fear, and suddenly I was laughing. It felt nice. He eventually told me to call him, then added, "Don't get crazy or I'll have to block you." And honestly, that was him. Still the same sense of humor. When I heard his voice for the first time in more than a decade, it felt like home. I didn't realize how homesick I had been until that moment. I told him I was trying to get back to my home state. I told him I was waiting to hear whether someone could come get Pup and I. I explained that another friend had been paying for our hotel, and then something really important happened. I took accountability for the things I had done. He took accountability for the things that he had done. We actually had a really good conversation. I kept thinking, why didn't I reach out sooner? Because this really was a good man. I just hadn't been able to see that back then. Or maybe I wasn't ready to. And then, my ex-husband, the man I had hurt during my relationship with number one, sent me $500. I hadn't asked him for it. He just sent it. Within the first few hours of talking to me, he wanted to help pay for my hotel. We talked for hours. We laughed like kids. We talked like adults. We talked about life. And somehow that night we rang in the New Year's together over the phone. We stayed on the phone until almost 3 a.m. It was really special. He told me he wanted to help me more, but that he had severe fear of bridges over water. And I wasn't going to ask him to drive all the way across country for me. Hopefully someone else would come through. Then he told me something I wasn't expecting. He said I could stay at his house. I'd have my own room, and he'd put a lock on the door. And that meant something to me, because he understood that after everything I had lived through, I needed to feel safe. The next day, I couldn't wait to talk to him again. He started reminding me of things from my past, core memories I had forgotten, things from before the abuse, things that reminded me that there had actually been a version of me who laughed, who loved, and who felt safe. I told him I liked the idea of staying with him. After all, he was what I remember safety feeling like. I also told him something else. I wasn't the strong woman I used to be. I was gentle now, understanding, caring, touchy-feely, and after everything I had experienced, I never wanted anyone to go through what I had gone through. He was also a dog person, so he couldn't wait to meet Pup. Then my friend told me she couldn't come get us. It was just too expensive to bring Pup, me, and all of our belongings that far. I was crushed. I had to tell my ex-husband. He asked if someone else could drive us halfway. He could drive the other half. I told him I would try to find someone, but it was just too far for everyone I knew. And then he said, "I'll come get you." My heart stopped. I started crying. I know how big of a deal it was, not just for me, but for him too. He didn't drive like across bridges over water. There was a lot of them on that route. But this man said, "Let me get my truck serviced and I'll come get you." And he did. He tried to drive the entire way in the first day. That alone showed me what kind of man he was. It took him about a day and a half to come get me. I talked to him over the scary bridges. I helped him with directions, and when he finally pulled into the hotel parking lot, I hobbled outside on the sheet of ice on the ground and hugged him. I had forgotten how tall he was, and yes, he was still very handsome. I could tell he was a little scared, and that's okay. I was scared too. We went to get my things out of storage so we could leave early the next morning. And this man came prepared. He had tarps, bungee cords, straps, everything he needed to secure my belongings. We worked together packing everything into his vehicle, and I couldn't get over it. He was actually there. He was rescuing me, and Pup. Pup met him, but was still extremely nervous after everything we had been through. So we decided to keep him crated at the hotel and muzzled in the vehicle for safety. Pup hadn't been around a safe man before. He didn't know what to make of this, and honestly, neither did I. On the way home, we talked a lot, and I was happy, not fake happy, not pretending everything was okay. I felt safe. We talked about our feelings, we talked about our past, we talked about what had happened between us, and we both realized something. We had never completely stopped loving one another, and we were just too young to understand what we had back then, so we decided that we would try to give it another chance. I'm actually dating my childhood sweetheart, the other half of my heart. And no, our relationship isn't perfect. I'm not always easy to be around because of my trauma and triggers. But this man is so gentle with me. He is understanding. I'm disabled because of the abuse I survived. And when I need help, he helps me without making me feel guilty for needing it. When we're somewhere noisy, and even my noise cancellation headphones aren't enough, he'll ask me, do I need to leave? He doesn't throw a tantrum when I say yes. He doesn't make me feel like I'm ruining his day. He just leaves with me. I never in a million years thought I would get a second chance with him. I never thought I deserved to live somewhere safe and quiet. He encourages me to make art. He happily eats the food I cook, even when it doesn't always turn out perfectly, because he knows I want to try new recipes. He lets me rest. He knows I can't do everything. We laugh. Sometimes we cry. We communicate. We hug. We're learning. We both have trauma. And yes, I caused some of his. That's something I have to take responsibility for. But we're working through it together every day. Because that's what healthy love is supposed to look like. Not perfection. Not pretending the past didn't happen. Not forgetting the hurt, but communicating, taking accountability, giving each other grace, and choosing each other over again. After 16 years of abuse, I didn't know if I would ever know what safe love felt like. I didn't know if I would ever laugh again. I didn't know if I would ever feel like myself again. But somewhere between a hotel room, a terrifyingly long drive home, a truck full of my belongings, and a scared dog, and the man who came all that way to bring us home, I found something that I thought I'd lost forever, my happy place. And that's all I have today. I'm a soft spoken survivor, and this is the Nervous System Diaries.